oh, my calves are already hurting, or I think I already had a blister at one of the aid stations, and the foot medic was like, oh my gosh, you're in big trouble here. Um, the beginning is hard because of the weight of the miles left. But then next thing you know, at mile 80, you're feeling the best you've ever felt. Then at 120, maybe you're having a low, and your body feels so beat up that you don't know how you're going to go on. And then 5 miles later, you're running fast down a road. It's this strange mix of highs and lows. You don't know what's around the corner. You don't know which parts are going to feel good, which parts are going to feel hard. It's not even necessarily what you would predict you would feel. And it's just hanging in there for the next phase and realizing that none of these feelings last forever. It's going to change. If you're having a low moment, there'll be another high. If you're in a high moment, don't count on that, because it's probably not going to stay either, but just kind of rolling with the adventure of it as it all unfolds.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Just sort of an all-in-one experience. It's not necessarily, there's no steady vibe.
Yeah, it's not a steady decline. It's not like you start off feeling great and just keep feeling worse and worse. You will have different moments of feeling great and
Yeah,
feeling rough, and it's going to be all mixed in. And that it's possible to feel great at high mileage. Like I said, we finished running fast, feeling good, feeling so excited. It was like our pain had all, and some of that is probably endorphins, but the second half of the race, we actually felt better, moved better, ran better than the first. And you wouldn't expect that. If I had been taking how I felt at mile 80 and extrapolating out how bad I was going to feel at 240, I might have quit. I couldn't imagine that I might be running and feeling strong and excited at mile 236, running an 8-minute mile. Anything's possible in the course of that distance. So it's a neat thing to kind of experience and just learn from mentally, not to try to guess how you're going to feel or how it's going to go.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know another thing I was wondering about you and Sam's experience out there running 240.3 miles over 4 days, and I'm just wondering um, how much, if I don't want to suppose that you did get any, but how much, if any, sleep did you get out there?
So that was one thing that we sometimes disagree with this within our own team. And I have insomnia. I have a hard time sleeping on the best of nights. Certainly in the middle of an ultra, I have a hard time sleeping, or I thought I might. Whereas Sam is someone who's been running for 15 years. He's done a lot more ultra marathons than me. And he has worked at 200s, and he's seen what happens to people when they don't sleep during these events, because actually the most dangerous thing probably is the sleep deprivation and the mental effects of that. You take some very, very sleep deprived people, put them out in the desert, you're wandering along like canyon walls and stuff. They've had people try to climb down them, things like that. You can actually truly do dangerous things from the sleep deprivation. So I deferred to him with our sleep plan, which was to sleep maybe sooner than we felt like we needed it, and to sleep a little more than we thought we would need, just to stay ahead of that and to make sure we didn't get into a dangerous place mentally.
Yeah,
And I ended up being really happy that we did that, because we ran into people and we weren't even sleeping that much. I would say over the course of 4.5 days, we slept. We took a few breaks that were like an hour and a half. So, and I don't even know if I would call it sleep. I vividly remember one of the sleep breaks at mile 120. Sam told me he wasn't sure we were going to finish because we had been lost on Shea Mountain all night. We lost a bunch of time. We came in, we were starting to get kind of close to time cutoffs, which is very stressful. He said he wasn't sure if we were going to finish, and that just emotionally really hit me in that moment. We took a sleep break. My mom was there, and I just laid there. So even though it was a sleep break, I wasn't asleep, but I was just laying there, letting my body kind of decompress. mentally decompress. But all in all, over the course of 4.5 days, I would say we're talking less than 6 hours of sleep slash laying slash, rest in the middle of a race. But I am glad that we did it, because we did run into some runners that had not slept. And we ran into one guy particularly coming into, I think it was around mile 180, and he had completely dissociated from himself, didn't know who he was, and didn't know why he was out in the desert. He just wandered up to us and was like, "Can you help me? I don't know what I'm doing out here. I have my phone. I tried calling the last number." And it was actually very scary to see somebody that had gotten into that mental state where he just had completely lost track of what he was doing and who he was. And so we took him with us to the next aid station, took him to the medic, which they actually see that a lot. They had him sleep, and then he went on to finish. So, the sleep deprivation is definitely something you're battling. Also, when you're sleep deprived, you start hallucinating. So the whole second half of the race, we were also hallucinating things when you're out on the course. And that's kind of what we used to dictate that we needed a sleep stop. If both of us were hallucinating and starting to have a hard time following the navigation on the phone, that's when we'd call it and say, "Hey, we need to sleep a little bit and get a fresher brain, and then we'll keep going."
Yeah. Right on. Well, right on. I guess I will be, I have you on social media, so I'll definitely be following your training leading up to and your experience at the Moab 240 this year.
Yes.
And yeah, maybe I'll have to have you back on my show after that, so you can tell about the second experience with that.
I know. I hope I finish. I hope I have a story to tell.
Yeah.
Well, there'll be a story either way.
Yeah, definitely. I remember I was recalling while you were talking. I was recalling the 100-mile race run that you and Sam were doing up there into Halle and down to Puyallup and back up the hill.
Yes.
But
yep.
And I started out that race or that run with you, and I ended up doing like 20 some miles and calling it quits. But glad I did too. I just could not.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you joined us on that. And that was before COVID and everything. That was us or mostly it was me. I really wanted to run 100 miles. I just had this goal and this dream. I was turning 35. I wanted to do it, or I was turning 36. I wanted to do it at 35.
Yeah.
So we did it the week before my birthday. We just went out, ran 100 miles around the neighborhood, self-supported. And we ran most of that. Of any 100 or any distance I've ever done, we ran most of those miles. Just any little uphill we were walking, or big uphill. But it was neat to have you join us for some of that. And then it's been interesting to watch, all of running kind of go that way in the next year. People doing more virtual and, self accountable races and stuff like that. So that was we got started with that ahead of the curve.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that here recently, about how, with COVID and social distancing, races, very few races actually happening, at least locally here.
Yeah.
That, and I've been thinking most of my training runs, or daily runs anyway, are on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And unless I see someone out on the street, I'll say hi, maybe run with them for a little ways, but most of it I'm on my own. And it's like that's where running's going for the most part.
I think it is. I think people are realizing too that it is kind of liberating. I love the races. I'm sure I'll always participate in some races, especially something like Moab 240. It does help a lot to have aid stations, for that distance, because you do need to eat. You do need maybe a medic to check you. But it's a little liberating to feel like if you want to do 50 miles, if you want to do 100, or another thing Sam and I did is we did a self-supported 100-mile loop around the Wonderland Trail around Mount Rainier. We just wanted to see it. Just people feeling empowered and liberated that you can go do this on your own. and just be self-accountable. And in some ways that's harder, you know, in some ways that means more because you don't have all of the external race organization and cheering and support that, you know, to go out and just do it on your own. You grow a lot mentally, I think, from that. And so it's been neat to see people doing that more and more.
Right on. Yeah, and that's one thing I wanted to add to that was that it's been neat. It's neat just to see, you know, have the experience myself, but also see others such as
Yeah.
you know, see Sam's experience out there and hear about his running stories from the past, and you know, see other people get into running and discover that, you know, we as people, humans, we are capable of a lot more than we think we
Yeah.
are.
I
know?
absolutely believe that. I always say that you know, I haven't even been running 3 years. And 3 years ago, I was more than 100 pounds heavier. I have 3 little kids. I've broken my left ankle twice. It's held together by a metal plate and 6 screws. I mean, I am not the person who you would have seen as an ultra runner. If you had seen me 3 years ago and you said, this person's going to run the Moab 240, everybody would have said no way, including me. And this is a way that you really inspire me. If you put your mind to something, if you put your will to something, it's absolutely possible. And I really truly believe, I'm like, if I can do this, anybody can do this. I'm not built for it. It didn't come naturally. I had all the odds stacked against me. I've had to work hard, but that's all it takes, you know, for ultra running is just to keep showing up, keep working hard, and it's not beyond anyone's reach, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right on. All right. Well, I think that's a very good closing point. Is just, you know, it's, you know, whatever distance it's not, you know, everything's within your reach if you want
Yeah,
it. And you know that you are a lot more capable of, you know, you're capable of a lot more than you think. And
absolutely. Yes.
yeah, well, it's, yeah, we're getting to about that time where I got to wrap up, get ready for
Sounds
the next
good.
show.
Thank you for having me, Shane. I was so nervous to do this. I do not like public speaking. I do not like interviews, but I am a huge fan of yours and I wanted to get a chance to talk to you. So thank you for having me on
Well,
your show.
thank you very much. Um, and if people want to get a hold of you, is there a way? You know, what's your
Yeah, if people want to get a hold of me, I love to talk about weight loss, strength training, ultra running, any of it. My Instagram is random happy things, just all one word strung together, or just Jess Greene on Facebook.
okay, right
Yeah.
on,
Thank
right
you,
on.
Shane.
Yeah, and thank you very much again for being on my show, and I appreciate you and hearing all your stories about your running. Thank you very
Sounds
much,
good.
and you have a great day.
You
And
too. Bye, Shane.
bye bye, Jess. And to all the viewers and listeners out there listening to Positive Vibes, I just want to say stay kind, optimistic, and grateful, and have a phenomenal day and phenomenal week. And I'll catch you next Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific on VT Radio Universal. And I'm out.